Ladies and gentlemen. This is my first episode of my YouTube podcast, and today it's James Clyburn that needs the biscuit for real. He's going to talk about issues that he says will help the Black community that Joe Biden has done. And then everything that he proceeds to talk about are things for everybody. See, here's the problem. They'll say, that Kamala stuff. Oh, well, what we do for everybody will impact the Black community too. Well, why didn't you say that to the Asians? When you gave them that crime bill, why didn't you say the laws we already got on the books for everybody will help the Asians too? You didn't come back with that. You gave them a crime bill. So, once again, we're supposed to accept all of the things for everybody while other groups get things exclusively for them. I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you and come back with the rest of my commentary. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just pay close attention to what he claims is for the Black community, for Black voters. And you're going to see it is nothing exclusively for us at all. And it just goes to show you they are playing the same games that we have seen in the past. This is not going to fly anymore. No.
Giving a nod to Black America. And I got to ask you straight, do you feel like the president has delivered on what that nod represented?
Absolutely. You can go down by the numbers, starting with the Rescue Act, getting our schools reopened, getting our businesses back on their feet. He did the things that were necessary, bringing over half of the children who were living in poverty, and much as a result of COVID-19, brought them out of poverty with the rescue plan. Then he moved with the largest infrastructure bill that we've had in this country since Dwight Eisenhower's Interstate Highway. Then the CHIPS and Science Act, bringing manufacturing back to this country. Then he went with the Inflation Reduction Act, cutting the cost of medicine, reducing insulin down to $35 a month. My late wife died from diabetes. And I can tell you, I saw $800 and $900 a month insulin bills because she was a full shot a day diabetic. So I know what it is if you can reduce that cost to $35 a month. The PACT Act, getting those veterans who were not treated fairly coming back from the Vietnam War, getting that done. And then the all-important public service student elimination of the student debt of public service. Over $132 million in debt relief to 3.4 million people. Student debt relief. We keep hopping on that one part that the Supreme Court outlawed, and we don't even talk about the 132 million, many of whom are here in my district. I ran across a gentleman a couple of weeks ago, got $200,000 relief from debt. He had 3 degrees, borrowed money for all of them, thought he would go to his grave still alone that money, and because of Joe Biden, it's gone away. So yes, he has kept his promise. Now, we have not been able to do voting. Why? Because the Supreme Court has prevented us from doing it. And just like they prevented us from doing the other part of debt relief, Joe Biden has kept his promise to the American people, and I think he has been an incredibly good president. I think the best producer since Lyndon Baines Johnson Great Society program back in the 1964 and 65.
That is high praise for the president, and it sounds to me like you might need to get in contact with his campaign, or his campaign might need to get in contact with you, because right now that messaging isn't breaking through. There's about a 63% approval rating among Black Americans when they voted for him at about 92%. And so something about the talking points you just talked about is not getting to the actual audience that Joe Biden seeks to reach. But I want to move on and ask you about House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries really quickly. He is seeming to be the next wave. He has a lot in front of him with respect to a Congress that is Republican controlled, but trying to steer the Democratic Party in a particular direction. As the elder statesman, give me one piece of advice that you've given him to try and help him move along and move the agenda forward.
He has a lot in front of him, but he has a lot of people behind him, and I'm in that group. He is an incredible leader. He is keeping our caucus together. He is articulating the issues in a way that they need to be articulated, and I do believe that I will be standing with him here on January 15th on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We'll be here in Columbia, South Carolina together, and he will enunciate on that day that which I think African Americans throughout the country ought to hear. He believes, as I believe, that this democracy is at stake. The freedoms of Americans are at stake. We must re-elect Joe Biden and do it in a way that would demonstrate to the MAGA Republicans and all others who may be looking for an autocracy, that democracy will continue to rule the day here in the United States of America.
Last question, Congressman, before I let you go. Are you throwing the fish rod this year, and can I come? That's all I need to know before you get out of here. Congressman Jim Clyburn, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Now, did you hear anything in that sales pitch? Because that's what it sounded like to me for the Black community. So everybody else gets something exclusively for their group, and we have to settle for what you do for everybody. This is why Joe Biden is losing the Black vote. And it sounds to me like y'all still don't have your act together on what's going on out here. You're really missing the point if you think this everybody talk and then claim it's just for it's for the Black community too. Man, you'll probably have a lot more lost votes. That's all I have to say. Y'all are still trying to go down the same path that got you in this mess with the Black community. And I can see there is no lesson learned yet. And look like there won't be none. See, chattering about what you did for us, and we're sitting here and, you know, we don't know what you did, that's a problem. And, like he said, that message is not getting out there. And quite frankly, even if that message of what he said got out there, this is not going to do them any good because it's not any of the things that we said we want. We want a crime bill. We want reparations. We want you to do something about these cops. Why haven't you been talking about the George Floyd Act? You're not talking about anything that we want. And this is always going to be a problem for the Democratic Party. You know, I guess he is scared of to say the word reparations. And now all of a sudden, you know, at the end of the year, the CBC puts a message out because, Clyburn is part of the CBC that they're going to look at police reform and doing something about these cops and also reparations. But we know you're not going to do anything. And you're trying to pull that bait and switch stuff that you did in 2020. And I'm telling you, this time around, the community is on top of their game. You won't pull it off. So All I have to say is if this is what Joe Biden has done for the community, consider yourself lost when it comes down to the presidential 2024 race.